Well, first of all, I think it's the premier affiliation in the league. You know, I can remember having conversations with Joe Napoli about 5 or 6 years ago when our objective was to try to create a true sort of a baseball model and bring that over to hockey, where you had a true sort of AA to AAA to the major league feeder system. And we felt, number one, we had an advantage from a geographic proximity standpoint with Toledo, Grand Rapids, and Detroit. There was a synergy with the coaching staffs. This was when Jeff Blashill was back in Grand Rapids. Derek Lalonde was here. Mike Babcock was in Detroit. I mean, all those guys, utilized each other great. The resources were awesome. So I think, Dan Watson and Andy have done a tremendous job of continuing that through Todd Nelson and his group in Grand Rapids. It's become, frankly, an imperative part of player development. And you see the players that have played down here for even little short stints and extended stints, those players that come up and help the team in Grand Rapids win, and then hopefully ultimately to Detroit. That's the objective. When the salary cap came in 14 years ago, I think at that point, many of the ECHL teams that got ahead of the game decided that this was going to be more than just a holding spot for an organization's fifth goalie, and maybe those contracts that didn't quite work out. And it became what I like to term now, it's really truly a post-collegiate, post-major junior all-star league. You look at the rosters of the players that play in this league, it's the top-notch kids that are coming out of U.S. college, these kids that are coming out of major junior, and for whatever reason they're not quite ready for the American League. But that's not to say that they're not high-caliber players, and with that has come the coaching. I think certainly Toledo was at the forefront of getting premier-level coaching in, but all the organizations are like that, and I think it's great for the league. I can remember having conversations with Brian McKenna a couple years ago saying, the coaching has risen to such a high level, the players are at a high level, that's great for the league. And it really is a truly a real AA level system that can feed players into the American League continually, not just in Toledo, but across the league. I've had a lot of phone calls with Dan, and we call them recruiting phone calls, where we're on the phone talking to young players and telling them about the development that we're going to put into place when we sign them, whether they're on an AHL two-way contract, maybe an ECHL only contract, or even in some cases those players on NHL deals that do have to play part of the year down here. And Dan says it best. He says, first of all, we want players that want to play, that this is a career for them, that want to move on from this level. And every ECHL team is not built the same way. There's a lot of teams that are, they have a heavy veteran presence that they don't want to leave that level. Dan doesn't want that. Dan wants to, he certainly wants a veteran leadership group, but he also wants players that want to move on from this level, that want to climb the ranks. I think that's a real credit to him and Andy, frankly. All those players that we've gotten in Grand Rapids that have played here have been better when we've gotten them in Grand Rapids, and that's a real testament to the job that they do, the coaching and the development. And it's tough, when we were just talking off camera about balancing the roster. It's a real challenge for those guys to, they're going to want to hold their best players back to win games at this level, but at the same time, they know that for the betterment of the organization, Detroit, Grand Rapids, and themselves, it's best to move them on and hope that they can help the team above them win some games.